In this town, there's no off-season. The news never stops, and neither do we. It's always game day in Cleveland with Andy Baskin and Daryl Ryder.
Hi, kids. It's always game day in Cleveland. We are back and better than ever as we get ready for the draft and all things considered, who's getting traded, who's not getting traded, who's sticking around, who's not. And, of course, the NFL Combine is where everybody's at right now. Except for me and Daryl, we're just chilling in our basements talking a little bit about the Browns. So we are brought to you by our good friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. So Daryl, Andrew Berry speaking, lots of information coming up.
Yep.
Where do you want to start?
I guess we start with 95, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they are holding firm that they are not going to trade Myles Garrett, which I do believe Andrew Berry's intention is not to trade Myles Garrett. It is to get Garrett extended, make him the richest defensive player in NFL history. And if you can't win his loyalty, well, thanks for stepping on my punchline here.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
I was going to say,
I roll, man.
If you can't win his loyalty, you might as well buy it.
There you go. You know what the Les Levine used to always say about comedy? What makes someone successful about comedy? Ask me the question.
What makes someone
timing?
Successful about comedy?
Timing. It's less joke. Here's my point, and I'm trying to find the tweet that somebody got angry with me today about.
I'm not the only one that stirred the hornet's nest.
Here's what I said on the air. I said, Jeff, I go, Myles Garrett has virtually no ground to stand on here. He's got, I don't know. The only thing he can do is hold out. Right. And if he chooses to hold out, he chooses not to get paid. And so we got in this whole conversation about Clutch. I'm like, well, if Clutch represents him and they want him to hold out, then Clutch should pay him while he's out, right?
Correct.
So, I don't know that you think that's happening? No. So, and then we got in this big debate about how, it's not basketball. LeBron understands the landscape of the land here, and he can probably obviously see that fans aren't anywhere near as agitated as they were with him when he left the first time. So, right. I don't think Clutch. It doesn't matter who his agent is. Doesn't matter. He doesn't have any leverage. No. And so and I said that, and people too. Does Basket know he doesn't have any leverage? Really? Thanks. Yeah, I know he can be here up to 5 years. Thanks. I get it. And people are, I just don't understand why people don't listen. They're like, you make one statement and you say, hey, the only leverage he may have is holding out. And by the way, Daryl, I am 100% believing that this thing's going into the season.
Really?
Yes. I think it's going into the season. If Andrew Berry I had an ounce of sincerity today, this thing's going into the season.
Well, I think that the offer will probably come in Indianapolis at the Combine.
I'm sorry, unless he signs a long-term deal. I'm sorry, I should have said that, preface that.
I think what's going to happen is he's going to get together with the Clutch folks, Berry, that is, at the Combine. He's going to present his offer. They're going to say thanks, but no thanks.
Even if it's the largest contract in the history of the NFL for a defensive player?
Yeah. I think that I think that Myles is really serious about this.
I do too.
I also feel that Berry is serious about not wanting to trade him. And I also feel that Berry is convinced that whatever this plan this offseason is going to be and however it looks or whatever it ends up looking like, I should say, I think Berry's convinced that that's the fix. And that intrigues me just as much as it scares me. Because he presented his plan to Myles, right?
Right.
And Myles still said, yeah, no, I'm going to be traded. I want to be traded here. Yeah. And then he has applied the public pressure to be traded. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. I do agree with you. I think this can get very ugly very quickly. Berry is going to try and keep this as professional as possible. Not to say that Garrett's camp isn't, but I feel like Myles is willing to do whatever he has to do to get himself out of Cleveland.
I'm with you. That's why I think this thing could go into the season. I don't think we're definitely not going to see him at any of the things that aren't mandatory, right? That's never going to happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if not only does he sit the offseason program out, but he sits out mandatory minicamp.
Oh, yeah. And regular camp.
Right. And well, I don't know about
if he doesn't want to be like if he's sincere and he's going to stick to his guns the way we think he is,
right?
Why would he even show up for regular camp?
Yeah, I just think that
is he going to be a hold in? Stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, I think he'll probably like have a hamstring injury in training camp or something. So he doesn't get fined, but he doesn't participate.
I mean, I'm not against Myles on anything.
I mean, that's
I think we should get paid
on his part, though, right?
Well, I mean, faking an injury?
Yeah, you don't
faking
get
an injury.
Yeah, you don't get fined.
But by the way, doesn't he have bad feet already?
That's what I'm saying. The feet are going to hurt a little bit.
I don't know.
Bad prediction.
What's it say about the guys that he's been around the last couple? I mean, I understand the business part about this, but I don't know. I think the whole thing just sucks. I'm not gonna lie. The whole thing sucks.
Yeah, it does, but it's the reality of the situation. It's part of the business of football, and it is going to be really interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. Here's the other reason why I don't believe it's going to happen before the new league year.
Okay,
is because I think Barry's going to put his plan in place. Barry's going to go through the offseason here.
Assuming that he's playing, right?
Well, he's going to go through the offseason here and put Humpty Dumpty back together in his mind and make the moves he wants to move. He's going to put the contract in front of Myles, the extension, the offer. I expect Garrett to reject it, but the offer's still going to stay on the table. And then after Barry's done with the draft, he's going to go back to Myles and say, do you like what I've done? And then,
well, you brought in 2 defensive ends to replace me. I don't understand. Of course,
no. That's
gonna check out my muscles.
That's gonna be
wrong guy. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, not funny at all. Basket.
I can't make Daryl laugh just once. He's the world's strongest man.
Did you hurt your arm lifting it like that?
No, I'm just.
Actually, you know what? I think I just tweaked my rotator cuff.
There you go.
This is why you don't eat Rice Krispies as a kid, folks. When you become adults, you start to snap, crackle, and pop.
Oh my God, that is the. Have you seen the 2 guys that just sit on the chairs and tell dad jokes back and forth?
Yeah, there's who does the dad jokes? There's someone in town. No, there's someone in town on TV.
Who was one I just saw?
Is it Wentz that does the dad jokes on TV?
I don't know. There's 2 guys I see on the internet every day. So there's some joke about. I can't even remember. It was so bad. It was something about water on the grass. How do you know?
How?
You just do. You just do. Like that kind of dad kind of joke. Silly stuff.
What else you got? You hit me with another one.
I don't know. I'd have to look them up. I got to rip off these guys' jokes to tell you the dad jokes. I just, my dad said every time we drove by a cemetery, people are dying to get in there. And that was it. You've never heard that one before?
I heard that many a time.
Yeah, I mean, so who knows? All right, what else did we learn about there were only like 15 questions about Myles Garrett in the open session.
Yeah, I think that what we learned is that Andrew Berry is very steadfast in his approach, that he's not going to just make and we know this about Berry. The question that needed to be asked, and if I were there, I would have asked, Andrew, what does it say
hard-hitting Daryl
about the job you have done as the general manager with this roster when your best player requests a trade because he no longer believes you and the organization are capable of winning?
Daryl Ryder gets answers. Next, it's always game day in Cleveland. Daryl, what else would you have fired at him that was missed in this press conference?
I won't say it's missed because Daniel from ESPN did ask about why aren't they aligned or whatever.
It was close.
So it was close to what I would have asked. But I would have pinned Barry down on the fact that they're a losing organization.
He answered every question like it was the first time he had ever heard the question.
Yeah.
Even when it was the same question that was just asked 2 questions ago.
Yeah. It was a great question. I appreciate the question.
Oh, it's a great question. Daryl, I appreciate the question. Appreciate that. At this time, we just believe what's best for the Cleveland Browns is Myles Garrett, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
It's basically what we said about 100 times.
Yeah. But you know what? Here's the thing. Did you honestly expect him to say
No,
something?
I didn't say anything. In fact, I'm impressed with his poise. That he did treat every question like it was the first time he had ever heard the question, even though he got the same question 20 times.
You were impressed with his commitment to the bit?
Yeah. He sold it hard. Sold it like Emmy award-winning performance.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to think. Phelps said something else that came out of the press conference today. He was like, I had an epiphany over this because I believe. What was it? Give me a second. I'll think of it. There was another thing that came out in the press conference today that continue on with Myles Garrett, and I'll remember what it was. I think it had something to do with the draft.
Well, he's going to be here in the offseason program. They won't trade him before the new league year. They're going to offer him the contract like we talked about. Barry's going to call this bluff. I see a scenario where we get to training camp. Myles reports. Myles does not participate. All right.
I think that's where we are. I think we're in the same boat. I think this thing drags on into the season, and week 2 or 3 during the regular season, Myles will be sitting in the suite.
Really? You think it's going to
we're going that far with this thing. Listen, you got 2 different sides that have both dug their feet into the ground hard.
Yeah, but you know what? I do think that there is a way for this relationship to get salvaged.
I do too, but it's up to Myles. And if Myles is going to lean into his agents, and his agents are propelling him into what he's saying, especially like doing the media row stuff, that he is going to, why am I paying my agents? I'm going to do what they tell me to do at that point, right? So my boots are going in the ground. And then he's just got to think, well, I know I'm not playing right now. I know I'm sitting out, but whoever picks me up next, they're going to end up paying for it. So I'll charge them for these games that I've missed. I'm just the way both sides are on this thing. The only thing that Andrew Berry could be on the other side of this, and because he was so steadfast that he's going to be a part of the team, is that he did do a good job of making, perhaps if they believe what he was saying, making other teams believe that there is just no way he's negotiating him out of town.
That's fair. I think that's fair. That was storyline 1A. There were a couple other things that came out from Barry's press conference, which we're going to discuss next.
Oh, excellent tease. Daryl Ryder sitting in the hot seat. Answers for your questions. What did we learn from Andrew Berry in Indianapolis? Next on It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. Yes, that's what we are. Are we the inside edition of what's going on with the Cleveland Browns? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Are we the hard-hitting E? No, we're not that either. Give me another platform. We'll bring it up, especially ones from the 80s that are no longer relevant. We are going to be that kind of media outlet in this podcast. Why? Because Daryl Ryder wants answers. Daryl Ryder makes you pay. By the way, we're brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, you teased it. What else did we learn from Andrew Berry at this press conference?
The Shedeur Sanders to the Browns talk is not going to die down anytime soon. We certainly learned that.
Okay. Is that a smokescreen?
It's hard to say, this is where being in Indianapolis would be helpful for me. But it feels like all signs are kind of like pointing in that direction. We heard from the GM of the Titans. We heard from the GM of the Giants. They sound real flexible right now when it comes to their plans in the draft. Of course, Barry, gave the answer you'd expect when he was asked about entertaining opportunities to trade out at 2. And he basically said that they're not right. They're not there yet. They're still in their process, if you will. But The Shedeur talk is getting louder and louder and louder. And if somebody comes up to 1 to get Cam, maybe someone comes up to 1 to get Shedeur, or Carter goes at number 1, or Hunter goes number 1. Like,
okay, so that's
was the other thing that we learned today.
Okay, that was the thing that Daryl brought, that Phelps brought up during the pod, or during our regular show. I don't even know what show I'm on right now. That he brought that up, that said it was interesting to say that they view him as a wide receiver because he'll have 100 opportunities throughout the season.
Right. And I thought that was interesting. The comment, in terms of Travis Hunter, cornerback or receiver, the answer is yes. So he can play both. And I think that's what makes him special. We would see him as a receiver primarily first. But I think part of, again, what makes him a bit of a unicorn is the fact that he can do both at a high level. And I think that is certainly very interesting, that Barry revealed that. Usually they keep that stuff kind of quiet.
Yeah. It's so Jeff led that to believe that they're not interested in him. I led that to believe that they are interested in him.
No, I the fact that he was that candid.
Yes.
Barry never reveals anything about.
I know. So, okay, you tell me, am I right or is Jeff right?
Whoever said they're not going to draft him is correct.
Oh, that's Jeff. Yeah. I thought that was a lot of information for him to give. And, you know, if they do draft him and he's on the board, then he'd be like, I told you guys, nobody wanted to listen to me, right?
Yeah. So I think if they stay at 2, they're taking a quarterback.
Does that make us happy? I don't think so. We're on the same page. I've been listening on the radio.
I mean, what I think they're going to do, what I think they should do, are two separate things. And I have an obligation to share both to our fan,
Yes, because you've taken the loyal Browns oath.
Yeah.
I, Daryl D. Ryder, do solemnly swear, and I do swear, and that's about all I'll tell you. My mom doesn't like it when I swear.
The cold medicine's really gotten to you, hasn't it?
It's not cold medicine. I just, it's been a long week.
I know it has. It
has been a long week.
You've been a little under the weather.
Amen.
Take a lot of extra vitamins. That's what I do. I have been crushing vitamin gummies like you can't believe, to try and stay away from all the muck that is circulating around the population. Everyone I know is sick.
Why does anyone listen to anyone else when Dr. Daryl has your back with the medicines you need on a very special edition of It's Always Game Day in Cleveland? Why would you watch any other podcast or listen to another podcast? Daryl has you covered.
You really are.
More at 11.
A little.
No, you know what it is? This is like.
You're a little punchy right now. You're a little.
No, I'm not. This is like 25 years of bent up frustration of being in newsrooms and thinking about how stupid some of the things that we said and did and teased and promoted, and just when you say these things, they just all come into my mind, like the idiots that would run in the newsroom and go, well, this is my favorite. Let me tell you my favorite. I know this is total sidebar.
That's all right.
So when I was working in Columbus, somebody from our I team, so we were switching offices at one point. We went in the I team office and they went in the sports office because we were doing stuff around the building, right? He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Andy, man, how you doing?" I'm like, I'm good. Hey, you were over at football today? I was like, yeah, what's going on? He goes, what do you got, man? I need some dirt on the Buckeyes. I got to turn a package for sweeps. I got to do some stories for sweeps. What do you got on the Buckeyes? Give me something good. I need something dirty. And I looked at him and I told him to get the blank out of my face.
Good for you.
What is your problem, dude?
What is
your problem? What good does that do? Like, you really want me to go out there and go, oh, you know what I heard? I heard someone was using number 3 pencils on a test the other day. There you go. Hard-hitting story for you.
Good for you.
There's so many holes in our business, right?
I know.
And like, it's just like, come on, guys. Like,
you work with one right now, me.
Well, that's not true. You're okay. I can live with you. What else do we got? So what else did we learn from this press conference as I deviate from everything? And Evan O'Brien's like, what are these guys doing today?
Nick Chubb.
Yeah. What's the deal with Nick Chubb? Like, come on. Don't. They're going Kareem Hunt on him, huh?
Yeah.
So Nick's gone. Is that what you think, or the option is now clearly there? They're going to let him test the waters of free agency.
I think he's gone. If you let a guy go to free agency, I think he's gone. Unless he can't get anything out there and he comes back on the cheap with an incentive-laden deal. I think they're saying to him, you go test the market, see what you can get, and give us a call later. And then if the price is right, maybe the Browns match and Chubb's loyalty to the Browns leads him back to Cleveland.
Yeah, but the Browns didn't have any loyalty to him now. So why would he have loyalty to the Browns?
Well, I think what they're saying
because of last year?
Well, this is a tactic also, too, to make sure he gets his market value, right? So the Browns, from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, that's not the smartest thing for Andrew Berry to do, right? You never want to let other teams set your players' value for you. But at the same time, because he's Nick Chubb, hey, go out, get your best deal, give us a call, and, we'll see if we can do something. And if we can't, we'll wish you well. I think that's what's going on there. So I'm not going to say he's absolutely gone from the Cleveland Browns. I saw a lot of the social media reaction to that soundbite from Barry in Indy. I'm not going to speak in those absolutes, but I would say that typically when you let one of your players go to free agency, those players tend to go elsewhere. How would that make you feel if Nick Chubb does sign somewhere else and does not return to the Cleveland Browns?
It would kind of piss me off. I'm not going to lie. Especially if they just didn't try,
But here, who's to say they don't try? You know what I mean? Or who's to say that the price just doesn't fit within their budget? Like, what if this is a budgetary thing too, right? This is a guy that's coming off 2 straight years of injury.
You want to make me happy, Daryl?
Yeah, we'll go. Well,
pick up Travion Henderson and Quinshaw Junkins in the draft, and then I'm happy. It's the Buckeye hack in me. Yes, it is. Pick them both up.
Well,
I mean, they're complementary and they can do different things. Well, and they're going to need 2 running backs.
You know my new acronym for the Browns in the NFL draft, right?
No, what is it?
BBOTB. Best Buckeye on the board.
Yeah, well, guess what? For years, we didn't live by that saying.
Well, I'm saying that's what Andrew Berry should do. Best Buckeye on the board. After pick number 2 overall.
And what if they don't take quarterback at 2? Now are you in? Best Buckeye on the board?
Later in the draft, maybe in the 3rd round.
If he's there, I'd take him too.
Yeah.
3rd round. About Will Howard, yeah.
Yeah. If Howard's there in the 3rd round, sure. 100%. Right. Take a flyer on him.
All right, Daryl, let's take another timeout. Let's come back. I'll try to straighten my will out, and I'll take a couple aspirin or something and get us fixed. Let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about what's coming up at the combine here too. So it's always game day in Cleveland. It's always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin, and we are brought to you by our friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. All right, Daryl. So what else is coming up in Indianapolis as we sit here on a Tuesday night, waiting for the rest of the NFL combine? So I was looking through some of the lists. Pretty much everyone was in except for the offensive lineman today. Does that sound right? And so then everyone's in tomorrow.
Well, so Kevin Stefanski is going to talk on Wednesday.
Well, that's true. Kevin
talked. We're going to, I think, hear a lot from Kevin that we heard from Andrew Berry.
Are we going to come back and do another podcast tomorrow after we listen to Kevin?
Yeah, it might not be the worst idea.
All right, that's fine. Let's keep our bosses happy. Keep going.
But then, obviously, at the end of the week, I believe it's on Friday, is when the quarterbacks will actually talk at the combine. So Shedeur Sanders. By the way, I got to tell you, I don't care that Shedeur Sanders is not throwing at the combine. I don't care if anyone throws.
If you can't tell from what he did during the regular season under real game pressure, what are you waiting for? I think that's true of all these players. I think that there are guys at small schools that haven't been seen that'll have the opportunity to grow. But otherwise, if you're at a big school and you've got playing time, then I don't really need to compete. I need to be there for the interviews.
Yeah, I just don't see the value in it anyway. You're in your underwear, you're throwing against no defense, right? I just don't. So I can't I cannot muster the energy to go on a rage rant because Shedeur Sanders is not throwing at the combine.
I'm not. Who's having rage rants? Anybody in our market?
you know how the business can go sometimes.
Oh, people looking for clicks.
As I said, filling in for Ken Carmen on the morning show with Anthony Lima, the only people that are upset that Shedeur is not throwing at the combine are the folks at the NFL Network, right?
Oh, that's a good call. Good one. I think I heard you saying on the air. Did they turn that into a promo? I think they did.
Oh, did they?
I think so.
But I just, I can't get all worked up over that. What's most important is that whatever homework the Browns have done on Shedeur Sanders, from a scouting standpoint, that they go in and they confirm some of that information, maybe get a little more info. It was interesting listening to Brian Hoyer talk to us about the combine and the things they do to try and trip you up, and the importance of being honest, even if you don't have the answer. As he told us, it's better to tell them you don't know something rather than to lie or just make something up, because then you look even worse. So that's what's really important this week, and obviously that all the medical stuff checks out. But the on-field exercises, that's done. That's just done for the cameras. I'm not sweating it. I don't think that that's anything against Shedeur or anyone else. I'm over the outrage over guys not doing on the field work, especially quarterbacks. Now, receivers is probably good. They do it. Defensive line, offensive line, other positions. Yeah, it's probably good if they do those drills. But I just don't know what you learn about a quarterback throwing on air. And the reason I say that is because it's one of the hardest lessons I had learned about judging quarterbacks is when I got caught up in the Brandon Weeden hype after they drafted him.
Was that before or after he got caught up in the flag?
Before. After they, the sports science episode where he was throwing the footballs at the clay pigeons and blowing them up.
Yep.
And I'd watch him in practice, and he's zipping the ball all over the practice field with velocity.
I like Brandon, by the way. I thought he was good.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. But the reality is, once they put a defense on the field against him, we found out that he couldn't play, or he really, really struggled. And that's the point that I'm getting to. Is I don't know what you learn about a quarterback throwing on air. And if you're moving the needle at all in your scouting evaluation, just solely based on a combine workout, you are totally scouting wrong. The eye in the sky never lies. Throw on the tape. That's all you need to see.
Right.
Under pressure, live game reps. That's the stuff that really matters.
It is also, though, I got to tell you, it's super important to know how many players show up for a guy's birthday party. I learned that during my research in watching Draft Day. Draft Day told me everything I ever needed to know.
That movie was the Cleveland Browns movies of Cleveland Browns movies, right? I mean, not only did it feature the Browns, but I remember the first time I saw it, I kind of liked it because it was like, this is pretty cool. Browns featured, what if the team was actually this freaking good, right? Or, but the realism in the plot, beyond absurd. Like the picks and all the trades and all the note. Okay, maybe that stuff kind of happens. Maybe some of the inner office relationships happen. Maybe some of the trash talk between the GMs happen. I don't know if you call anyone a pancake eating.
Joe Banner being there in the end.
Totally. Perdicoso was there at the end. Hey, the Elk and Elk guys were in it at the end, right? All the influencers at the time for the Browns were in it at the end. Yeah, big fan.
Sponsors or influencers?
Both.
I'm confused.
If you pause the final scene, you see a ton of familiar faces in that scene.
In the last scene, are there media members in there too?
In the Fieldhouse celebration scene.
Yeah, are there media members in there too, or no? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
But I know they use
a lot of familiar faces in that scene.
Yeah. Whatever.
But it was. But overall, going back and rewatch, it's a terrible freaking movie. It really is. It's so unrealistic. Oh my goodness gracious, it's so unrealistic.
Okay, so you have to hold it up against the standard. Is it worse than Caddyshack 2?
Yeah.
It is. I agree. Worse than Caddyshack 2. That should be the Although, Jackie Mason wasn't bad in that movie, so that's why I think it's that should be the bar. Caddyshack 2.
Like I feel like Caddyshack 2 and Major League 2 were done just to get in all the jokes that they couldn't get in the original movies.
Probably.
Right? Because so in Major League 2, where Rick Vaughn's there with his agent girlfriend, and they're having the conversation, and that ball wouldn't have been out of a lot of parks, and he's, name one. Well, Yellowstone. Like, that joke was supposed to be in the original Major League, and the only reason I know that is because I watched the DVD extras of the original Major League. So that joke didn't make the cut in the first one, so they saved it for the second one. I think the rocket up his ass also from Bob Uecker, Serrano.
Yeah, Pedro.
Yeah. Serrano's going to need a rocket up his ass. He was going to catch that one. That, too, was cut from Major League One. So I feel like that all the jokes they couldn't cram into Major League One were, and the same thing happened with the Caddyshack movies. All the jokes didn't make it in the original. They went ahead and included in the second one. Here's to hoping that all the jokes that didn't make it in Draft Day stay on the cutting room floor and they do not make a sequel.
There you have it. Daryl Ryder.
You know what? I think it's time for both of us to go take a nap.
All right, let's do that. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll do this again. Well, after what Kevin had say, we'll do another podcast. Daryl,
both of us will be good, and then we won't be as punch drunk, sleep deprived, happy like we are now. And
hard hitting news with Daryl Ryder. Let's not forget it. Only on It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. Thank you.
Take away your good stories.
Thank you, Evan O'Brien. Yeah, I'll tell you the stories about where I was over the week if you want me to. I'll undercover some stuff. Man, I got a really, really bad urgent care story. Like, really,
boy.
like what? Urgent care story. I'll tell you that one. When we come back tomorrow, we'll do another one. So he's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Evan O'Brien, you're the greatest. Thanks for producing this thing and putting the slop together. We appreciate you. It's always Game Day in Cleveland.